What's up? Welcome to the Mind My Creative Business podcast. I am your host, ShySpeaks.
And I am your host, Ron Ironically. And
And before Ron tells you what we're talking about, I want you to know that this is the number one podcast for creative entrepreneurs to have strategy, to get structure, and self-development all in one place. Ron, what are we talking about today?
so today is episode 2, dose, and we're going to be talking about CEO versus creative, or creative versus CEO, or however order you want to put it in. But pretty much, how do we transition from being a creative or a creator into a CEO?
That's good because it's different, but then
Exactly.
there's similarities. So let's just hop straight into it. Like we want to talk about what is the difference and what are the similarities for like a CEO and a creative type. Like you want to just get straight into it? Let's go.
Yeah, let's dive into it. Yeah, no time for the pleasantries. We already did that. Let's get into the meat.
Okay. All right, so let's start with, since everybody here is a creative entrepreneur, they see themselves as a creative right before the entrepreneur. Let's start with the creative side. What is a creator? No. Let's do it backwards. Let's hop into the CEO. Let's talk about the CEO. Go ahead, Ron. Let's talk about it.
All right, so a CEO, right? So first of all, we know it's an acronym. So we need to know what that acronym is, right? So it stands for Chief Executive Officer, right? So the CEO provides leadership for all aspects of the company's operations with an emphasis on long-term goals, growth, profit, and a return on investment.
Cool. Okay. So I like the definition. People are like, I know what a CEO is. Well, first of all, we gotta be clear because it's an executive position.
Exactly.
It's an operational position. It's a position that focuses on long term. But the part that I like about it is that it's a position that focuses on growth and profits and return on investment, which could not be the case with a creator. But before I jump ahead, let's talk about what is a creator.
All
I'll
right.
give a definition.
Go ahead.
A creator, you can give one, but one I want to say is a person who invents, produces, or makes things is called a creator, right? Invents, produces, or makes things. That's a creator. You got
Period.
another definition?
No, that's it. The period. That's when we think of somebody that's a creative or a creator, that's it in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, right? So let's talk about the differences right here. What's the difference in between the creator type and the chief executive officer? Like just looking at those two type of definitions.
So I mean, the creative, they're just solely focusing on creating. I mean, right? Where it's like, okay, I want to get better at creating, so let me create more, right? They focus on the craft of creating, right? So it's like, let's say, if you're a videographer, you learn things about video, you learn about the ISO, you learn about aperture, you learn about all these things that go into the craft of it. So that's where your attention is solely focused on, is the craft of creating and becoming a better creator and creating more.
Right. It's the phenomenon whereby something new is innovated, something valuable is formed, right? Something could be intangible, like, or it could be physical. It could be created in the mind, like it can be proprietary thoughts. It could be, so it's something that is innovated, right? But it is something that is valuable. And when we talk about it being valuable, that's where we can then begin to assign price to it and make it a service or a product, right? That's where we
Exactly.
start getting into the business aspect. But something valuable first has to be formed. So in order to even be any type of business, something had to be formed. So we
Exactly.
see an innovation happening there. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then the part that you talked about is just the act of like working on creating something new all the time. That's
Yep.
that. That's the only difference, is that it's that you're creating something new. You're using your imagination. You're bringing ideas into reality,
Yep.
and all of that is cool. But if you stay right there, you're just consistently creating and consistently creating innovation. And corporations, what they call that is R&D, right? Sometimes, like, there's a research and development department that specifically is researching new ideas, new products, new old patterns, to find things that maybe problems that they can solve, and then they're developing either new products or new software or whatever to meet those problems. So innovation is always happening in a company, from those who are both historical researchers, thinkers, and from those who are developers and creators. So we have to have that. It's just the difference. Give them the difference.
Definitely. Right. So once again, so the creative, you're solely focusing on creating. But when we talk about the CEO, right, they're focusing more so, once again, it's already an executive role. So we're already thinking executive. We're thinking operations. So how does my brand or my business, like what needs to be in place for me to function? What systems and processes need to be in place, right? And once again, we're thinking about long-term goals. So if I'm saying that, okay, we're going to be a 7-figure or 8-figure brand, right, and this is my product or service that I offer, how do I get to where I am now to where I want to go from a financial standpoint? So we're looking at those systems and processes. We're looking at, okay, what do I need in order for me to grow? And we kind of talked about that last episode where we talked about the artisan, right, or the artisan, however you say it, right, or the technician, right, where they're good at this one skill, but then how do you scale it? So that goes to the CEO. It's like, okay, how do I scale it? How do I take it from where it is now to where we're trying to be? How do we make a profit? Because it's one thing to generate revenue, but then when you want to, once again, understanding that you have expenses, right, and your income and your expenses offset each other. So it's like, okay, no, but how do I make a profit, right? And then how do I get a return on said investment, whether I'm investing my time as a creative, because you're spending time creating, and you're also probably spend some resources. So how do I get a return on the investment of the time and the resources or money that I put into what it is that I'm creating?
Let's unpack right there. We talked about long term, and you talked about getting a return on investment, because that was one of the definitions or ideas that comes along with being a CEO, thinking about a return on investment. Whereas being a creative in and of itself, not a creative entrepreneur, but just a creator or a creative, you may or may not be thinking about a return on investment. You could simply be thinking about, like, oh, I'm going to go, maybe I'm a videographer or a filmmaker, and I'm going to go buy a $3,000 camera. Right. I'm gonna buy a $3,000 camera so that I can make high quality videos, and I can work on this camera angle and these edits, and then I can put it in an Adobe, and I can make these flashes and all of those things that you're doing. So you want it to be high quality. So you spent the $3,000, but it was not spending the $3,000 with the mindset of, how am I going to make a return? You're investing in the creativity because you spent the $3,000 so that you can have a higher quality, but you may or may not be thinking about how to get a return on investment if you have not tapped into that creative entrepreneurship mode, if you're not really operating from that CEO. So as a CEO, I'm automatically thinking, okay, I know that I make music videos, right? And I can go and make music videos for these particular artists at $500 a pop. And if I make 6 music videos, right, I just make the $3,000 back. Or we live in a content creation generation. And so if I see this person over here, they need content created, I can like say, hey, I'll come and sit down and record all your content in one day, and I'm going to work on my camera tricks, and you can do all the little things you were going to do in Premiere and Adobe and all the flash effects and all the stuff that you wanted to create, but you're going to do it on that, but they're going to pay you, right? So what happened is I'm creating, but I've actually created value, something valuable that they need. Now I have a service. Now, if I can sell this for $300, I'll give you so many videos for $300. I need to sell this to 10 different people, and now I can make that $3,000 back. I can have a return on my investment.
Yeah, it's almost so like with the CEO, you have to learn how to reverse engineer what it is that you're trying to do from a income standpoint, right? So where, like, once again, I'm saying, if you're saying, okay, I know that and once again, creatives and CEOs just approach it differently. Like a creative, you're solely approaching it to create, right? You're solely approaching it like, I just want to create this. It makes me feel good. I like it, right? I know somebody else may like it, but if they don't, oh, well, I know I like it, so I'm just creating. Where CEO is like, okay, I'm creating something, but I'm taking this creation, I'm taking it to market now. So in order for me to take it to market, there's some things that I got to see to make sure first, is there a market for it? And if it's a market for it, how do I get this to the market? Right. And then what's going to be the cost to take it to market? What's going to be the cost that I'm trying to recoup? Like you said, okay, the $3,000 I spent on this equipment, how do I, first of all, I got to get that money back. And then once I get that money back, once I recoup that money that's invested, now how do I turn a profit? So it's just two different approaches, right? It's two different approaches.
Because what will happen is, if you're going back to our example about the videographer, if you're not thinking about, okay, I've made a return on investment, that's fine. But as a CEO of a company, if you're not thinking about making a profit, then you're not going to be able to make a living, right? If all you did was break even, then you're not making, you know, so now it's like, okay, how many more videos do I need to create? And then eventually, maybe you can get to that film that you're trying to produce, or that documentary that you're trying to create, and then you can put that out and get that deal and so forth and so on. But in order for there to be a business, there has to be something of value that is being sold.
Exactly.
And then you have to move from it being sold as a creative to actually watching the margins, watching the key performance indicators is what they would call it, right? How am I performing on return investment wise? How am I performing on profit? How am I performing on growth? What's going on? Like, I started off doing just 5 or 6 video for artists. Now I'm able to do like 20 videos a month because I started getting my word out there. People know about me. So now I'm doing 20 videos at $500 a piece. Now I'm at, what's that, $10,000 or what? I don't know what, so now, okay, things are going and I see myself growing. And so those are the things that you're thinking about when you're coming from a creative entrepreneur perspective. That's the difference, is that you're thinking long term. Here's the similarity, I would say. The difference is that you're thinking about return on investment, profit, and growth. The similarity, though, when you go back to that definition, is that you're thinking long term. It said the chief executive officer is they're looking at all aspects of the company's operations, and they have an emphasis on long-term goals. I would like to say it's easy for creatives to transition into the CEO mindset, because as a creative, you already think long-term. I know you do. I'm always around creatives, Ron. I'm sure you're always around creatives, whether they are videographers, florists, going back to the filmmaker. I met a guy the other day. He said, I said, what you been up to? He said, man, I got a documentary I'm working on. He's like, then after that, I'm gonna do this documentary. Then after that, I have this documentary. He was like, so it's crazy. I have ideas and stuff that's in the works, and I'm working on different ones. So that's a long-term strategy.
Creators are visionaries at heart, right? So like you said, they can see big picture, they can see further down the line, right? So they, like you said, they have that long-term in place. It's just the long-term focus is different, but the being able to think long-term and longevity, they do have that in common. I agree with you on that.
Right. That's a similarity. So you already have a CEO has to be a visionary. A CEO has to be a long-term thinker. Definitely. A CEO has to think about things that our company is innovating, and products that we already have, and like keeping them both going, right? So you have if you're a CEO of Chick-fil-A, for example, you have the regular old #1 chicken sandwich, but every now and then you're coming out with a new strawberry watermelon tea. You're coming out with a new, they're thinking about those things as well, and how we're going to launch those and bring those to the market and so forth and so on. So, but I think that I want creatives to be encouraged. And realize that you already have what it takes. You already think long term. Go ahead.
I mean, you threw Chick-fil-A out there, so we'll probably talk about this in later episodes. But just even that scarcity piece, where you mentioned, okay, they may bring out like they have this watermelon mint iced tea that I love, but it's not an all year round thing, right? So that creates that scarcity. So a CEO, somebody is thinking, okay, we're going to bring it out here. This is going to drive sales up. You know what I'm saying? Because once again, it's new, and they know they can only get it for this amount of time. It's not going to be there all the time. And then we're going to have it for a couple months. Then we're going to pull it. Then when people come in, like, where's that? It ain't going to be there. So they're going to be like, oh, man. But then when we bring it out next year around the same time, because it's a seasonal product, right? It's going to drive sales for us, and it's going to keep them wanting to come back for that particular product, knowing that they can only get a certain time. But that, understanding scarcity, once again, that's something that a CEO would understand, right?
Right. That's the strategy.
Yeah.
Now I have long-term goals, but I'm coupling that with long-term vision. So long-term, I want to stay in business. Let's be everybody's goal is to stay in business, right? So, and then the long-term goal is I want to continue to make sales, so I keep doing what we're doing. But then I want to grow, or I want to make profit. And so how am I going to do that? This is just one strategy. I have a product that can be produced. If it's watermelon is a seasonal fruit. So, I mean, it can be, in an organic sense.
No, what you mean. Yeah, right.
And so you can produce anything all year round, genetically modified, right? But in an organic sense, watermelon has a season. So we're going to be able to get as much watermelon as we can, make this and make it a seasonal product, and it's going to be great. They're going to get it. They're going to come back and get it again. They're going to love it. So that's a strategy. So now as a creative, now it's not just, we just didn't make this product like, we just have this juice now. It's like there's a strategy that I like that.
No, but I like you said that too. So the creative would be like, okay, once again, I want to make this new lemonade, this watermelon mint lemonade. We're gonna put it out. We're gonna create this product. Boom, take it to market, and it's out there. But like you said, the CEO is strategizing like, wait a minute, no, let's create the product, but we're not going to make the product available all the time. We're only going to make this product available certain times of the year. So, and that's going to drive our revenue more than if we left it to be a staple product. You know what I'm
saying? Because it's not just when you're driving profit, you are keeping expenses down and you're trying to do sales. So yes, he's talking, Ron, you're talking about scarcity, supply and demand. That's what's making people get it. But also, if I try to keep it all year round, it's going to be more expensive to produce this organic watermelon living. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't want it to be, I want to do it at a certain time where it's more affordable. So my profit margins are even higher when it's cheaper to make watermelon. So they think all of that's being, you see what I'm saying? That's all being considered. I love it. I love it. Like, the cool thing about listening to this podcast is you're going to always hear Ron tap in and talk about strategy and how it coincides with the brand and the overall concept of the business. And I'm going to lean in to talk about like the systems and the structure that must be in place in order for that to happen. When we talk about profit, right, there is, you have to have both. There's a both and there, right? So I'm thinking about the supply chain of the matter, right? Because the timing on when you can get this cheaply and you can get this produced and you don't have to wait for it and all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm thinking about. That's when is this readily available? Ron is thinking, okay, what's the strategy on how you do that? And so as a CEO, you'd be thinking that way. If you were stuck in creator mode, you'd be like, man, that watermelon mint tea was busting. Ooh, let me see what else I can do. Now I can do a grape. Now I'm just making up, that.
No, listen. And that's one of the biggest things when I'm as a coach who coaches creatives that try to help them transition from creative to creativepreneur. That's the biggest thing, is trying to get them to pull back on creating. Like, I'm like, don't get me wrong. I want you to create. Yes, create. Yes, create more. Be innovative. But just because you create more doesn't mean you have, as a creativepreneur, right, you have to take that more to market right now. That's something that you may want to delay doing or hold off on doing it. I'm not saying don't create, because you can't tell a creative not to create. That's like telling a fish not, not to swim, right? It's like that's you can't do that, right? So I'm telling you, create, but just when we talking about now creativepreneurship, when we talk about being that CEO, you may want to hold off taking that to market, because you still got this original thing that is a phenomenal product, right? You have proof of concept to where there's people that's been buying it from you, but you've only sold it to this small, subset of people, because you haven't taken the time to market it and push it out to, whoever your niche or your audience or your market may be. So it's like, yo, wait a minute, before you go on to the next thing, the shiny object, right? Let's stay here for a minute, right? And let's now put a strategy and a plan behind this to take that to market.
So it's create and then take time to be the CEO and mind your business behind what you just created. You see what we just did there.
That's it.
Welcome to the
mind your business. Mind your business.
Mind your creative business. Come on. All right. So another thing we want to talk about, and we're gonna like later on, I'm gonna go back and answer something that I said that I would in episode 1, which is talking about like delegation and batching and automations and how all of that goes into having the mindset of a CEO. But before we get into that, I want to actually talk about one more aspect of being a CEO that a creative has to tap into, and that is embracing scalability. You have to first believe that what you're doing is scalable, because we talk, I'm saying scalable, but the word that we used earlier in that definition of a CEO, it talked about growth, profit, and return on investment. So far, we talked about return on investment. Cool. I got to pay for the $3,000 camera. Cool. I got to pay for the studio time. I just spent all this money on studio time. How am I going to recoup that on the song I just created? Or cool, I just made this balloon arch or whatever it is that you just made. Like, how am I going to we got it. Return on investment. Talked about profit, putting some type of strategy in place, watching your expenses and figuring out ways to blow up the sale of a thing, your revenue. But we didn't talk about the growth piece. So I want to talk about that. Growth is the same thing as like scaling in a sense, right? How can I grow my business?
Yeah.
Right. Growing my business may or may not, more than likely will not entail creating another thing. Right. So how do we grow something? And I think that a lot of times creatives feel like what they're doing is not scalable. Right. How can I grow it when it's just me? I'm the person, I make the balloon arches, or I'm the person, I do the flowers. I got to go pick the flowers. I trim them. I bring them to the wedding. Like they don't see where there's room for scalability. You want to speak to that for a little bit?
Yeah, no, listen, no matter what you do, it's always room for scalability, right? But once again, that's being able to focus as that CEO. So like, okay, let's talk about the balloon arch person, right? Once again, when we talk about scaling, being able to grow, once your time is limited, so you can't spend all your time buying the flowers, buying the balloons. Then you gotta figure out the design. Then you gotta put the design together. So a way for you to scale may be, okay, maybe I have somebody that's a buyer, right? Maybe I have somebody that buys the flowers and the balloons for me. Let's say I want to be the designer. So here, how about I do the designs, but now I can bring on people that can create them for me, right? To where now I'm not spending my time creating, but I'm spending my time designing, not have somebody else doing the shopping. And then, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, and I might have somebody else go out and get the clients that does my marketing and promotion for me. So that's a way where you can scale. Now let's say, okay, if I'm a recording artist, well, so how do I scale? There's always ways to scale, especially as a recording artist, something like that, right? It's like, okay, then what you do for you to scale is you're going to grow your audience, grow your fan base, but not once you grow your audience and grow your fan base. Let's say you may only have, okay, all I'm doing is offering music. All I'm doing is offering streaming, right? But for you to scale it now to be able to increase revenue, maybe you want to add a product line to where, okay, now I'm not just giving them music, but I'm also giving them merch. Or I'm not just giving them music and merch, but are you doing a live show? Right? And or in person or online live show. Like there's always ways to scale it no matter what your business is. And you just, once again, you have to start thinking as a CEO and figuring out, okay, how can I scale it based on what it is that I do? So those are just a couple. But like you said, I know in the first episode, we talked about being a baker. So having pastries and you go from one facility that you're providing for to maybe multiple. So you're able to scale that way. So
right. So hold on. You're getting into it because you're kind of leaning into we gotta pay these bills and stuff like that. But I listen, because you talking about batching. So first of all, you're just talking about delegation.
Right.
That's one way to scale. But now you're talking about batching. And I said I was going to talk about that here in a minute. I just wanted them to embrace the idea that even as a creative, there is room to scale. So you believe 100%. There's always room to scale.
There's always room to scale. Yeah, always.
Yeah. Always. Especially if it's not delegation. If you can't delegate that, there's something you can do to batching. We can talk about it here in a minute. And we can talk about this other piece, which is automation. And we can talk about another piece that I want to, but let's do this. Let's just go ahead before we talk about how, because I got some perfect examples of people who are creatives and they scaled.
Yeah.
things that you would think like, nah, you can't scale that. This is just me doing it, and it's just gonna be me, and that's it. We're gonna talk about it here in a second, but first, let us pay these bills.
What's the irony?
It's because it's us in different color clothing. I mean, listen, we've been doing a lot of talking, and we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to make a statement as well.
Because we've seen people make statements with their athletic apparel. We've even seen people make statements as entrepreneurs. But one thing I haven't seen is somebody make a statement as a creative entrepreneur. So what we've done is we have given you an opportunity to make a statement as a creative entrepreneur.
Okay. So if they want to make sure that they're rocking that creativepreneur gear, where can they go get that?
You can go get that gear from whatstheirony.com.
Hey, I told you we were going to pay the bills, but it was really just us. There are no current sponsors at this particular moment. We want you guys to be the sponsors by going out and getting that gear, because it helps support the channel. But more importantly, it helps you rock out with what you really are, and that is a creative entrepreneur. You ready to keep it going, Ron?
Yeah, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going.
Let's keep it going. Okay. So I said that we were going to give some examples, because I just want them to embrace the idea, right? That it's totally possible.
Yeah.
So we talked about, you already leaned in, you already talked about delegation, you already talked about batching, and we were just giving some examples of like, okay, let's roll with that. But let's give true real world people who've been able to scale things that you would think are unscalable as a creator. All right. So I want to start. I have one. I would say that people who feel like they do maybe YouTube videos, right? I'm gonna create that. Those are now considered creators, creators, YouTubers, right? And so they sit down at their computer or wherever their desk is, and they make videos.
Right.
It's them always making the video. So how can I delegate that? I can't delegate the part that only I can do, right? So what we found is most creators started leaning towards things like batching. This is how they were able to grow. So instead of recording a video, if they say I'm going to have a video drop every week, instead of them just recording one a week, what they do is sit down and record 4 all at once. All right. The same individual records 4 videos, and they're all ready, and all they have to do is schedule them to go out week by week. And so they've kind of savored their time. And so now, instead of every week some time being having to go to that and then editing, they're doing it all at once. Or not only did they record 4 videos, if there's any editing being done, they then delegate it, which is where they outsource and sent those 4 videos to an editor to help add the transitions, the beginning, the intro, chop out any unnecessary things. Right. So now they're not the person who's sitting there spending time editing if that's not their strong suit.
Exactly.
Right. So where that was taking up their time, they had to record, they had to script the video, record it and edit it. So now they say, hey, I'm going to let somebody edit. I only script and record. This is the way batching works.
Right.
Creators. So then they get to the point where say, hey, maybe I can let somebody else help with scripting. I tell them these are the video concepts that I want. If you're good at writing, can you write my outlines for me? Now they hire somebody else who's great at writing, who can do that quickly. Now scripting and editing are outsourced, and all they have to do is record. So they're buying back more time. So now the time they used to spend recording, the time they used to spend editing, they're no longer doing that.
Right.
Okay, got back hours. The time they spent scripting, they're no longer doing that. And so now they can move on to make the next couple of videos. So now they have all these videos in the can. And so where they were putting out 1 video per month, because they've sped up their processes, they now are able to start putting out 2 to 3 videos. I'm sorry, 1 video per week. They're now able to start putting out 2 to 3 videos per week because of delegation and batching. Did I break it down good enough?
No, you broke it down. I mean, that's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. I want to use an example as well, as far as just being able to scale being a creator, right? Yeah. If I'm not sure if anybody on here is familiar with B. Simone, right? Okay. So with B. Simone, like, she started out, she was a online personality, right? As a result of her being an online personality, she got on Wild 'N Out. As a result of Wild 'N Out, you know what I'm saying, that opened up some other doors for her. So you think, okay, well, what about her story, right? As a result of her being an online personality, she came out with like a beauty line, right? So she went from, okay, I'm generating revenue from being an online content creator. I have an opportunity to now get a bigger platform. Now let me go ahead and let me create this product line because I have people tuned in, rocking with me, asking me about certain aspects about my beauty or whatever regimen. So boom, let's do a product line. Then I'm going to write a book, right? So now I have a book telling you how I manifested these things, right? Then I still take my show on the road, right? I can sing or rap or whatever. So now I'm going to put out some music as well, right? So it's like now it's like because you're this creative person and it's like, okay, well, how do I scale it? Part of her scaling process was now creating different products and making them available to her audience and to her fan base and the people that's rocking with her, right? So it's like you have that way to where we can batch, we can automate, delegate, and then this other way where and the same thing, she's still using that batching, that delegation, automation, because she definitely brought on people. I can guarantee you she ain't the one that made the product line, but she brought somebody on to help her with that product line. To my understanding, she was the one that wrote the book. She brought on somebody to ghostwrite and help write the book. You know what I'm saying? So
at least editing and proofreading and all of that. You're not doing all that by yourself. So yeah, that's definitely true. And what you're saying is, so she's using delegation and batching because they're like, oh, I don't know about all that. But she actually kept using more creativity. She kept creating not new videos, because she started off doing online videos. I don't have to keep making new videos. Now I need to pivot and add a new product line.
Exactly.
Right. Maybe let's go back to a restaurant. Maybe they only had chicken sandwiches, but now we need to add a salad because that's going to appeal to a different group of people.
Exactly.
Right. So she was making videos. So you think, well, I'm gonna just make more videos. That would be just kind of stuck on the creation of the videos. No, I am a creator. So now, because every day I get up, I put my makeup on, I'm into beauty. I'm going to create something around that. And then I'm going to create a book around that. So she keeps creating new product lines. And then she takes the time to mine the business of that new product line that she just created.
Exactly. And let me point this out one point again, back to the CEO piece. She didn't do it all at one time. Right. She did it all in stages and phases. Right. And part of it, too, is the market to tell you what they want. So the market is asking for some of these things. So that was like, aha, okay, since the market's asking for this from me, let me provide that.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so there's a demand that's there for it.
Right.
Okay, so I want to go back to just giving some. So you said be Simone. I talked about a creator, YouTubers, and I didn't name any specific names. Now I want to get specific. There's a company called Think Media, right? So if you may have seen their videos come on. It was founded by a guy named Sean Cannell. Sean Cannell was a YouTuber. He was making all the videos himself. His videos is pretty much on how to scale up your videos on YouTube. Like he did well on YouTube, and he started educating other people how to dial in their YouTube videos, what products should they get, cameras, microphones, things like that, how to script your videos, intros, outros, end credits, thumbnails, like all of those things is what he's talking about. That's what he does. But here's the thing. Even if he outsourced scripting and outsourced editing, there was still a bottleneck to how much he could grow, right? Just as a creator by himself, because he had to be the one to do the recording. Script, record, edit, right? So he had to be the recording. But he started realizing, what if I could get somebody else to record videos talking about the same thing I'm talking about? Now I could get more videos put out. So instead of it just being on Sean Cannell, his own YouTube channel, he created Think Media, the agency, right? So now these videos are not coming just from Sean. They're coming from a group of people who all work for Think Media. And Think Media is helping you think about your online presence. Right. So there's a guy named Omar on there. I think his wife was on there. He's making videos. That's 3 people right there. I think there's a 4th person. I can't remember their name. So now when you become an agency, same thing. We're on one channel, but it's 4 of us making videos. So now I'm definitely not doing 1 video per week or just 3 videos per week because I've dialed in my delegation and my batching. No, I'm doing freaking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 videos a week, which now is feeding the algorithm even more. And so I'm able to grow, right? And so you're like, well, So I just want people to realize there is the idea of an agency model. You can turn almost anything into an agency.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, listen. So going back to that, like understanding, like anybody, you may heard of Earn Your Leisure. Like that is, it started off as one platform, but like you said, they're an agency. They have other podcasters that come up under that brand of Earn Your Leisure. You know what I'm saying?
So go back. It's two guys, Earn Your Leisure. Yep. They were doing a podcast.
Exactly.
It was going well. And you're saying now there are other people whose podcast is on Earn Your Leisure?
Exactly. They have their Earn Your Leisure network, and there's other people that are on that network. If I'm not mistaken, I think Ash Cash is a part of Earn Your Leisure. David Shands, I know, but even him, he's branching off and doing his own and having his own agency, but he started off on, Earn Your Leisure and things like that. So yeah, no, that agency model, that's a way to where you can scale, right? To where now, okay, I'm not solely doing everything. I'm not even the one that's doing all of the content now. I was able to partner with other people to do the content, help them give them a platform, right? And they give me a percentage of what it is that they're bringing in, a part of their revenue. You know what I'm saying? And it's always ways to scale.
They went from a podcast to seeing themselves as a network.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So and it goes back to what we're talking about, which is the creator to CEO mindset. They went from seeing themselves as just podcast creators to the CEO of a podcast network.
Exactly.
This is the only thing different is how they see it. Once you see it differently, you're going to implement things in a different way.
Oh, what? Oh, wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Once you see things differently, then you're going to implement things in a different way, right? Yes. That reminds me of a scripture. As a man thinketh, he is.
So, come on.
That's all I'm saying.
You start seeing yourself that way, you're going to govern yourself
accordingly. So when you solely think of yourself as a creative, and we're saying, listen, we're not saying there's anything wrong with that. We're just saying when you solely see yourself as a creative, you think and act like a creative.
Right.
And once you transition to CEO, now you're going to start thinking and acting like a CEO. We're not telling you to get rid of that creative side. We're just saying in this creative entrepreneurship, as a creativepreneur, you have to be now a CEO because you're going to think differently. And as you think differently, you're going to be and do differently.
Right. You're going to then grow. You're going to then profit. You're going to get returns on your investment.
Exactly.
And that's when you can start building a company and you start adding more people and more resources and you start making more impact, right? And having more influence and all that type of stuff. Okay, so here's the thing. Ron and I are talking about it. And I want to talk about my aha moment from when I went from a creator to CEO mindset, I would say. But I want to say that in future episodes, we are going to interview. I just want to reiterate, we're going to be interviewing some of these people and we're going to listen to them talk about how they went from one level of creativity to another level of creative output as a creative entrepreneur. So some of the names that we just named and people beyond, we're going to say like, okay, Shine Run says it's possible. We know that there are people, there are proof. But what exactly happened? Like, how did you just start? There's plenty of podcasts who are not networks. So something had to happen in their mind, and we can't unpack it all right here on the episode. The best way to do it is to let you hear it yourself from those who've done it. Okay. Exactly. So just be looking forward to that. So, because I'm excited about some of the people that we're going to be interviewing and the things that you all and we all be able to learn from them. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I said I was going to talk about something. Right?
Yeah, no, your aha moment, when you made that transition, when ShySpeaks was like, okay, I am no longer just a creative anymore, but I am a creative entrepreneur or a creativepreneur.
Okay, so I will say there were several moments. There were actually several moments for me when I realized, but when I think about them, they all relate to me being able to use my creativity for a kind of like a money-making project, right? It wasn't just me creating for my own sake of creativity. Some kind of opportunity was presented to me. I would be able to make money, but by using my own creativity, right? So it was always something like that. I'll give you one that's the most stand out because it was several. But there was a time where I was approached by a corporation. I'd always been approached by corporations as an artist to come in on certain special occasions and accompany events to provide my performance services, right? So I myself had to do that and be there. But one time I was contacted by a corporation to create video, right? Some creative video that they can show during their conferences, their seminars, online. Like they just wanted to have these multi-purpose videos that comprised of both entertainment, but also kind of told the story of what happens in their business exchange. And so they tapped me because they knew I could do the entertainment piece, but they also saw me as a writer. They didn't just see me as a performer, the service that I perform if I was there live. They saw me as being able to write and script out like skits and you see all of that kind of stuff, right? So the company reaches out to me and they offered me, should I tell them the amount?
I mean, you can.
Okay, so they want me to do 3 videos, right? Okay. 3 videos, and they want me to show networking. They want me to show community, and they want me to show, it was some other concept, and they wanted some music or some type of poetry, entertainment wrapped in that.
Right.
$7,500. Right. $7,500. Take a song, and all I was gonna do is take music and then chop in a few, like something from a skit, just like take the video, add some B-roll into it on top of music, and then I would be done. And I was like, okay. You know what I mean? Like this is almost $10,000 to make 3 videos. Let's be clear. Something that I already, the 3 songs or the 3 like entertainment pieces, that comes to me naturally. I already have concepts in mind. As soon as they said community, networking, or whatever the other themes were, I already knew the 3 songs that I wanted to do. So guess what? All I tapped in, I delegated half of the task to somebody else, and of their role that they would help me play in it, because I didn't want it to be all me, right? Because I wanted to have the feminine and the masculine both in there. So I tapped a male artist, and then also I wanted it to have some kind of layers to it. I scripted what the B-roll would look like. The B-roll would show them that community, all those themes. I picked the songs, I put them together. I also delegated. I found somebody to contract to film us. We went to film it. We did all of this in, I want to say I booked like a space for about 2 hours and a videographer for about 2 hours. Asked the person to come with me. We did that for 2 hours there, doing the scripting part, more of like the TV scripting side. That would be the B-roll. We spent another 2 hours in the studio creating the live performance of the entertainment piece. And then all that was passed over to the videographer to splice up together. So for about 4 hours of my time, I made $7,500 for something, for a corporate thing. And I realized like, ooh, oh, right. Like, so half of, listen, I talked about 4 hours that I did, but there were hours that went into editing that I didn't do. There was some time that went in that I hired the other person to come along with that I didn't do. That was their role. I pretty much facilitated the thing. I was almost like, I was like producing it.
Yeah.
But as an artist, I allowed myself to make an appearance in it as well. So I wrote, script, produced, spent about 4 hours, maybe 5 hours total doing this. And boom, $7,500 from corporation, 3 videos. And I was just kind of like, wow. This was not for my own music. I wasn't creating a new song for me to release to my audience and gain new fans. I wasn't doing a voiceover for something that this was specifically for someone else. And I was going to make money from it. And I was like, okay, I'll make money. I'll be creative. And I saw my creativity in a different light, that I could be tapped by other people who are tapping different layers or different aspects of my creativity to produce something. And I make money. And it was a great, I'm telling you, I could talk about it all day.
Yeah.
It was just great. I loved it. 5 hours, $7,500. Where they do that at?
And you didn't compromise your creative integrity or anything like that, right?
Right.
So my aha moment is very similar, right? My aha moment was, I was commissioned by a corporation to do something similar. They came to me asking me to create a song for one of their events, or some day that they had, some special day, right? So they came to me, they asked me, what would I charge to do it? So what I did, because once again, it was out of my wheelhouse as a producer. Now, mind you, I'm a producer, but it was out of my wheelhouse. I don't produce that style of music, and whatever the case may be, but I still knew I had human resources and other resources I can tap into to where I can delegate. So I reached out to my producer friend. I said, hey, I got this project. What would you charge for this? He told me what he charged. I'm like, okay, bet we're going to need some singers. I reached out to my singers like, hey, I got this project. What would you charge for this? They told me what they charge, right? So I was able to pull all these things together, right? Got their price of what they charged, tacked on my fee on what I charged, submitted that, and they ain't blink an eye at it. They was like, okay, bet, that's what we need. So I was able to executive produce it. I brought everything together, made sure it got done, submitted it. They loved it, right? Then they was like, okay, we want some sheet music. So I reached out to another partner of mine who does sheet music. Like, hey, what you would charge me for this? He charged me for this, upcharge, right? Like, okay, I know y'all already paid for the original. That's what y'all paid for, but y'all asked me for this. So now it's a couple bands more, right? So when it was all said and done, it was about a $10,000 project. Mm-hmm. Once again, I was able to, now mind you, these are people that I've used before in the past. And I was able to pay them more than I paid them in the past because once again, I'm getting the bag for now. You know what I'm saying? Before it's like I'm coming out of my pocket. You know what I'm saying? And recreating for the love of it. But this here, once again, being able to utilize my gifts and talents, not compromising who I am as a creative, as a producer, because I'm a purist at heart, right? But this is something where it's like, yo, I see that you have this gift and this skill and this talent. Can you do this for our corporation that we want to use for this? And once again, it was an aha moment, like, oh snap, wait a minute. Like I can get paid to utilize my gifts and my talents, opposed to going to a job that I can't stand, or not even that I can't stand, but I'm going to a job to where I'm not utilizing my gifts, my skills, and my talent, right? So it's like I can now use my gifts and my skills and my talent to bring in revenue for my business and my family and things like that.
Right. So not just for yourself, but you're also able to create revenue for other people simply by, right. So you were minding the situation. So you knew, let's go back to what we were talking about as an executive producer, which is similar to being a chief executive officer, a CEO. I knew I needed to make a profit out of it. So if they're going to give us 10,000, I need my expenses to be lower than this. I need to be able to make a return on whatever we got to invest in to make this project happen. If we need a new plug-in or a new whatever, I don't know what happens in that producer world. But if I need something different, I'm going to invest in it, but I'm going to get a return on it because I'm going to make that here. So then, boom, I'm going to provide you this one thing. And then there was even some growth there, right? Because now I provided you one service, but I actually can provide you another service, which is sheet music and all that kind of stuff. So I can continue to do that. And so now, bro, you could get to the point where it's like every time I'm around corporate people, I let them know that this is what I do and I'm getting paid. And then in the entire time, I'm not, you wasn't the only one doing, you didn't do all the video, do all the singing, do all of this, do all of that. Because that's what we talk about, embracing the idea that as a creative, you can scale, but you got to first realize, man, I would have to write this and I would have to sing this and I would have to do that and I would have to do this and do this and do that. And you be so far spent, the amount of time you spend on it, you should have gotten 10,000. But when you get to the point where I can do it quicker, shorter, faster, because I can delegate and I can batch and I can do those types of things, right? So this is, I just want to make sure this is clear. Like those are aha moments for us. So here's one of the things I want to do. I want to encourage you, especially if you're a creative entrepreneur and you're new to the game. Now, if you're not new to the game and you're ready to start here in the gyms, then wait for the next episode because we're going to start interviewing some of the 6, 7, and even 8-figure entrepreneurs who are doing what we're talking about. But if you're new to the game or feel like you're trying to learn where to scale, I want to encourage you to take on a money-making project that taps your creativity. Okay. Like I just need you to simply say, listen, if something comes my way, it's not for my own album, it's not for my own floral project, it's not for a balloon arch in my space, for my portfolio. This is not for my portfolio at all. This is just simply somebody's coming at me with something, and I'm going to say yes, because yes, I'm going to use my creativity.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm going to make money. And once you begin to start seeing yourself make money from your creativity, now you start realizing, okay, I made money. Okay, now how can I make more profit? How can I make more profit? How can I make more profit? How can I, and sometimes that may involve me having to make a bigger investment. Maybe I'm a makeup artist or I provide some type of makeup service. In order for me to make more profit, I may have to buy in a bigger bulk, which is a bigger investment. Right. So if I do go from buying 100 of these at a time to buying 1,000, right, so that I can sell more makeup, whatever this creative thing that you're doing, I'm just using this as an example. it's going to be a higher investment. But how can I make a return on that? And then how can I grow? How do I need to position it? What is the strategy? Do I need to come out with a limited time only? Do I need to make price it differently? I just want you to listen. I'm just saying first, but none of that will happen until you embrace the fact that I just need to take on something that is not for my own creative passion. It's just not for me. It's not for my audience. It's because I can just simply use my creativity to make a living. And things are going to start shifting for you. I promise.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So right, listen, we can continue to go on, and we want to, but we are going to have to call it for this episode. Once again, tap in with us because we are going to get deeper and deeper as the time permits and as time goes on. Right. But we definitely, we want to wind it down because we don't want to keep y'all here too long. Right. We appreciate y'all being here, spending the time with us for this amount of time that you have been on this episode. And we don't want to abuse that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we definitely don't want to abuse it. We want to keep our episodes to about 45 minutes or less. And we've given you some extra games, so we're over time. So thank you so much for tagging in with us, staying in with us, wrapping your mind around the creator to CEO mindset and the importance of transitioning right into that. Like, so I'm happy that you rock with us. Ron, you got something else you want to tell them to do?
Most definitely. We want you all to join the Creative Corner community, right? Which is a Facebook group and a newsletter. If you go to the MMCBpodcast.com, right, you'll be able to join the newsletter. And once you join the newsletter, you'll also get an invite to join our Facebook community where you'll be surrounded by other creatives who desire to be entrepreneurs or who are already entrepreneurs, to where we can now be in a community where we are amongst people that think like us, understand like us, because there's other creative there's other entrepreneur environments. And they, entrepreneurs themselves solely, they think and function a little bit differently. But those who are creative, we think a little certain way. So to be able to be surrounded by peers that are on the same journey as you, be a part of our Creative Corner. So yes, go to the MMCBpodcast.com to join today.
All right. You got it. MMCBpodcast.com. We look forward to seeing you in the community. As always, I want you to say this out loud with me. All it takes is intention. Consistency.
And
laser focus.
To
mind my creative business.
That's it.
Thank y'all so much. My name is ShySpeaks.
And I am Ron, ironically.
Thank you for tuning in to the MMCB podcast. Peace.